Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Millie, and today it's a very cold, windy day. Everything is wet from a storm last night, but I have got to finish getting the garden beds covered and my fig trees covered. Now, I thought I had a little more time than this. I worked hard all day yesterday, which is Saturday. I don't normally do a lot of heavy lifting on Sundays, but today is a Sunday and I've got to get this finished because the rest of the week is going to be in the low 20s overnight, and I've got to finish getting my garden beds covered. Now, I got a lot of the stuff done yesterday. I'll show you what I did yesterday, and then I probably won't do a lot of talking during this video because the wind is so strong and I don't want you to have to listen to that. I may film parts of it, but we'll show you what it looks like at the end. So let's look right now and show you what I have done so far, and then we'll show you what I'm going to finish. So the first thing I did yesterday was the easiest thing, and that was to put up the Vijayga raised metal bed, their cover that they have. This is going to cover my collards and my spinach. They're very, very cold hardy, but they do get a little bit of damage when we hit the low 20s. What I also like to do is for the extra cold nights, I like to leave some row cover in there just in case I need it. And then I'll show you at the end the other thing that I do for the really extra cold nights. But this raised metal bed has zippers on it. I've got the flap up with a rock on it to hold it up because tonight and last night we're not cold enough to need it. But it will zip right up and keep everything in here cozy. Last year it worked really, really well. This is my other winter garden bed that doesn't have a cover on it. I've got some greenhouse plastic and I've got some greenhouse clamps that I use to hold the plastic down. And I'll link a video on the top that shows you how I put this up. But this also covers the bed really well and keeps the vegetables so that they don't die back over the winter. Here's my pile of plastic that I brought out. I have a ton of it because I'm going to show you what else I need to cover. But let's finish showing you the garden beds first. This is the back of another one that I got finished last night. This is cabbage and kohlrabi that I planted, let's see, it was in June. And this can hold in the garden. You know, some of them are ready, some of them are not quite ready. I'll just harvest them as I need them. But what the cover is going to do is it's going to keep them so that they don't freeze over the winter. Now, they're also extremely cold hardy. The temperatures inside the greenhouse, overnight especially, do get below freezing. But the daytimes, they warm up really quickly. So that's one that was finished. Now another one that I've got to get finished and get the plastic over is over the carrots and the beets. And this bed up here, I'll see how much energy I have and how cold I am before it's time to finish. But I'm going to be harvesting all this cabbage because it's ready. And it's actually starting to split. But what I'd like to put plastic over this bed for is just to get it ready for the spring crops. I like to plant really, really early in the spring, like March, and if I have a cover over it, then I can get an extra early start. Now that's just the garden beds that need to get covered. Let me show you what I'm going to be doing with my figs and what I've done already. Now, here in Utah, we are zone 6/7 and figs are marginally hardy. If you get the hardiest varieties, they'll freeze to the ground and then grow back the next year. But whether or not you get figs to ripen is just a toss-up. A lot of people will get figs to ripen, but it just depends on the microclimate you're in. So I don't want to chance it. I am all out for as many figs as I can get. So I do cover mine over the winter, even though it takes quite a bit of work. So let me show you what I accomplished yesterday and then talk a little bit about what we have yet to do. So this is what I have done so far with my fig trees. What I found is fig trees here in Utah, if you hit the 20-degree mark, you start getting dieback to the ground. And that's what I want to avoid because I want the early breba crops, which you don't get if the figs die to the ground. And I want my figs to have time to be able to grow and mature so that I can harvest them. And this is what I have come up with. I do open top coverings that I cover with greenhouse plastic during the coldest nights. And as I said, tomorrow night, maybe even the next night, we're going to start getting into the low 20s where we're absolutely going to see damage if they're not covered. Now my figs are fully leafed out, but I can leave the tops open when it's not below 20 degrees so they can finish going dormant. Now this year I'm going to do things a little bit different. What I normally do is I do 2 layers. This inside layer is, just that basic thin house insulation. Got another little fig in here. So the insulation is the inside layer. Then I stuff these cages with straw to keep the roots insulated. And then on the outside I put greenhouse plastic. So all these figs in my backyard, so what I need to do is, for all the figs in my backyard right now, I need to put greenhouse plastic around the outside. I would stuff them with straw if I had the straw, but I don't have it yet. That's going to be coming this week. So as soon as I get the straw, I'll take the plastic off and put the straw inside. They'll be okay without the straw for this week. Now this fig is one of my hardier figs. This is a brown turkey, I'm assuming. It was a gift from a friend. What I think I'm going to try and do is see if I can get away without straw, because I do know that if this fig dies to the ground over the winter, that it will actually grow back from the roots, and that's going to be okay. I have other figs that I can harvest from if I, just in case this one decides to take a long time to mature figs and maybe possibly not even mature them fully. But I'm going to see if just the insulation and greenhouse plastic works on this one. There's going to be no straw. Now this fig right here is my Chicago Hardy, and I know for a fact that Chicago Hardy figs will grow back from the roots if they freeze to the ground. And we've got really healthy, thick trunks down at the bottom. So this is going to be another experiment. This has been covered for 5 years. It's a 5-year-old fig tree. I just cut it back, it was almost 10 feet tall. I cut it back to about 7 feet tall in August. Maybe it was September. I think it was actually September that I cut it back. And what I think I'm going to do is just leave it completely uncovered, see if the thick trunks help preserve some of the live wood over the winter. And then if it doesn't, if it dies to the ground, then we can start replacing some of those thick trunks. Now the tree to the left of it, however, is my black mission fig, and black mission figs are not fully hardy for my area. So this absolutely needs to be covered. It needs to be stuffed with straw, and it needs to be covered. So until I get the straw, we're just going to cover it with plastic and have the insulation around it, and then it should be good to go. So now the first thing that I've got to do is sort through all my plastic in the wind here, and it's full of water, so it's wet, and it's going to be freezing cold. But anyway, I'm not looking forward to this. All I've got to do is sort through this, see which bits fit which garden bed, and which ones will fit which tree, where the tops are for all of this, and then put it together. Now, I don't think I'm going to film this part because the wind is strong enough that it's actually blown my tripod over a couple of times, and I don't want to break anything. So I will put in some clips of times in the past that I've filmed covering garden beds and fig trees. And then next week, when I stuff the straw in the fig trees, we'll go over that a little bit more. So I will come back and show you what it looks like after we're done. Well, I'm cold, tired, wet, and really windblown, but the project is done, and it's turned out to be a gorgeous evening, even though it's cold. Now, it took about 2 hours, and the last hour my son helped, because it's really, really hard to wrap plastic when the wind is blowing as hard as it's been blowing. So we're ready for the big drop in temperature, and let's show you what we've done. So the only bed that's not covered is this one over here, because we're not going to be growing anything in it over the winter. But in early spring, I'm going to put my tomatoes in here. I think I'll probably put them in the beginning of May, and we'll cover it with plastic then. This one is all zipped up. I don't know if you can see in there, but we've got the row cover over the plants. Probably a little bit of overkill, but at least it's done. And let's show you the other thing that I do to keep things warm. So that's what the floating row cover looks like. And then under this cover, we've actually got a container with water in it. Now the water will heat up during the day, and I have another one over there. The water will heat up during the day and release the heat at night and keep this area warmer. We also have a temperature sensor in here. I think I need to lower it. I'll get a longer string and lower it. But I want to see how much of a difference in temperature there is with under the cover. We've got this garden bed all covered up. The strings help hold the plastic up when I want to roll the plastic up. And then we've got these plastic PVC clamps on there. So when I want to open it up, I can just slide it up and it'll stay open. We've also got the row cover and water jugs under there. We've got the plastic around the fig trees. When I get the straw, probably next Saturday, when I get the straw, I'll stuff the straw in there. And hopefully it doesn't get so cold that it kills these to the ground anyway, but I think they should be fine. We're going to hit about 20 degrees, which is the temperature that kills the fig trees back to the ground, but they're wrapped in insulation and plastic, so they should be fine. Now the tops on these, the extra string on top is where I can open these up when it's warmer. So on the warmer days in early spring and late fall, I can open up the covers and let the plants breathe. All of these beds are covered. We're probably going to harvest the cabbage in those beds in a few days. Today was daylight savings time, so it is going to be dark by the time I get home from work. So that may end up needing to wait until next Saturday, but they're okay because they're under cover right now. Carrots and the beets are covered up. We've got cover over the red cabbage and then cover over this one. You can kind of see how I keep the plastic closed. I also have a brick down here that weighs it down. So I've never had problems with the wind ripping these off or ripping them at all. Now it feels good to be ready for winter growing. I didn't know if I was going to actually do a winter garden this year. Now I've said it in past videos, but I've done winter gardens for the last 5 years and they've worked out beautifully. But I usually plant them a little earlier and have them covered a little bit earlier. And I would love to hear if you're in a cooler climate, and if you grow plants in the winter under low hoop houses, and how it works for you and what you grow. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.